My name is Manuel, and I'm from the city of Querétaro. I've been watching this channel, and I decided to share some of my experiences. These happened throughout my life, especially in places where I worked as a security guard. I'll try to narrate everything in chronological order so I don't get lost. On September 29, 2013, I was alone at the school around 5 o'clock or 6 p.m. It was my turn to make rounds through the hallways, very close to the stairs that students use to go up to the second floor. It was a Saturday, no one else was there. I went up the stairs, and when I turned to look toward the second floor, I caught sight of half of a black shadow moving quickly to the right. At the time, I thought it was an intruder, so I focused on checking classroom by classroom. After inspecting, I couldn't find anyone. That day, I went back to the guard booth and wrote up my report in my notebook. I was supposed to submit it to the director and the vice director at the time. On October 12, 2013, I was walking near the bathrooms on the west side of the school. It was late, somewhere around 6 o'clock or 6:30 p.m., though I can't remember exactly. When I passed by the women's bathroom, I heard 2 knocks on the door. I froze for a moment and stared directly at the door. Then I heard a third, louder knock. That scared me a bit, so I walked around the bathrooms instead. I tried to look through the back windows. They were completely shut. No drafts that could explain those knocks. That really got my attention. I was convinced something was trying to communicate with me, but it never responded. Still, I filed a report about what happened. I returned to the guard booth and didn't go out again to continue guarding. On October 26, 2013, I was called to cover for a coworker. It was a Saturday morning. I spent the time collecting trash and throwing it into the container. Everything was fine until late afternoon. The sun looked like it was setting, and the sky started to brighten, like morning. At that point, I suddenly felt like I had to use the bathroom, so I went there. After I finished, I walked through the bathroom hallway and felt as if something was following me. It wasn't like anything I'd experienced before. It brought a strange heaviness, and it frightened me. But I was brave. When I left the bathroom, I turned around, but there was nothing. I was completely alone, just as always. I locked up the bathrooms myself and I never went back in there again. I decided to urinate outside instead. And I told the directors who had hired me. At first they just laughed and said, "If you aren't afraid, why are you acting like that?" I played along so they wouldn't fire me. I told them it was my duty to keep watch. But the truth was, I was terrified. I even locked myself inside the guard booth, listening to the radio to distract myself from what was happening. On November 16, 2013, it happened again in the afternoon, around 5:20 p.m. I remember very clearly because I checked the radio time. I decided to do rounds through the men's and women's bathrooms, but something happened. I heard strange footsteps, like an animal walking. Once again, everything was very strange because there was no wind. I turned around quickly to surprise whatever it was, but there was nothing. Not even dry leaves in the hallway. This time I was intrigued again. At night, I made my report once more. On November 24, 2014, it happened when I was near the schoolyard patio. It was nighttime. I was frustrated by the things that kept happening, but I kept working there. When I walked down the hallway, I heard something from a classroom on the right, as if someone was speaking very softly. I imagined it was a thief, maybe with someone else. I gathered my courage and decided to take a look, but there was nobody. I checked all the classrooms, then went around to the back and examined the whole area. It was still the same, empty and silent. This time, I didn't write it in the report. I didn't want them to say I was crazy or that I had some kind of illness. So I kept it to myself. After that, something else happened. I dreamed that someone wanted to kill me. Then I had a strange incident involving a child who was staring at me in a very unsettling way. After that, I decided I would never accept any offers from that school again, even though the records of the previous events remained. Those incidents all happened in Querétaro, at technical school number 22. Now I'll try to explain what was going on. It took me about a year to gather all the information, and I'll tell it to you next. About the black shadow I saw on the second floor hallway. People say it was a woman who devoted herself completely to the school. She worked in cleaning. A friend told me she was very loved by everyone, though he didn't remember her name well. I investigated inside the school, and I confirmed it with another person who told me the same thing, that yes, it was her. But again, they couldn't clearly remember her name. What they did remember was that she spent a lot of time cleaning. Her work was spotless. She always left the hallway trash bins and the bathrooms clean, without needing help from anyone. About the footsteps in the bathroom hallway, a man named Elias, someone who worked there, told me they were probably the steps of a loyal dog the school had adopted before. It was a small black dog, but something terrible happened. One afternoon, while everyone was arriving, the dog got out. There's a big avenue nearby where cars pass. The dog was hit and killed. He told me the dog never left anyone alone. It always accompanied people day and night, and it was loved by everyone. He said the footsteps I heard earlier were possibly that dog, the one that sometimes followed people. As for what I felt in the bathroom, whether it was cold, pressure, fear, or something else, there wasn't a clear explanation. What I was told was connected to an unfortunate event that happened years earlier. Some students, boys and girls, went to a river and got drunk. The boys who felt brave because of alcohol decided to compete about who could swim best. 3 of them went into the water and drowned. The story spread from mouth to mouth and became news. Even though that doesn't fully explain what I personally felt, they connected it to my experience. Still, I can't say I fully understand it. As for the voices and knocks in the bathroom, there isn't a clear explanation for that either. I had checked to make sure there was no airflow, which can be common, but there was nothing. I remember clearly that day there wasn't any wind. And regarding the voices, I don't know what to say. I never had reliable sources, so I'm leaving out the details I can't confirm. That's everything that happened to me at that school, where I worked temporarily, at technical school number 22. Those stories also happened while I worked for a state media unit, better known as NEM. I won't mention its address, origin, or anything like that because it's government property, and revealing information about that unit is prohibited for unknown reasons. This all began around the middle of 2006, when the shifts were 24 hours on and 24 hours off. It was in June when I started working there. I met a man named Severiano. He used to tell me stories about ghosts and his old life in Tampico as a railroad worker. He told me that where we worked had paranormal activity. In fact, he claimed he had the ability to see ghosts and sense energies. It was already nighttime when he finished telling me that there was a man in black inside the place, peeking out, but hiding whenever you tried to look at him directly. I doubted him because I didn't see anything. So I decided to test it while I was alone. Outside, I looked toward the right side, where it was empty, and I started praying. My coworker was asleep, and it was around 2 a.m. After a few minutes of praying, I heard a knock coming from that same area. I was surprised because I didn't expect any response. So I went to check, thinking maybe someone had knocked with a stone thrown by some troublemakers. When I arrived, there were no stones in the area, nothing. I felt disappointed, and I returned to the guard booth to rest. When morning came, I told my coworker what happened. He told me it was happening to me because I didn't believe. Later, this also happened to me in the summer of 2007, in May. The administrator and Severiano were with a woman whose name I will omit. Severiano was explaining how he heard that a table had fallen and that things on it had been disturbed. This happened during the morning, but I didn't understand it very well. I got closer to listen, and what he was saying was that someone had moved across the table and then knocked it down. They investigated, but the table was still intact. There was nothing strange, and nobody could determine what caused it. The cleaning staff didn't say much because they hadn't found boxes knocked over or anything out of the ordinary. That day stayed in my memory, because Severiano and I both knew something was inside. This happened before I became a security guard there, in 2005. I was with Ivan, one of my coworkers, at a place called The Site, where there were network peripherals and all the server connections. That afternoon, we tested a camera that automatically took photos when it detected movement. I was one of the test subjects, but we let the camera do the work. We went to the reception area where users are served and talked for a while, then returned to look at the photos the camera took. That's when Ivan noticed something strange. He focused hard on one detail and told me to look at the same thing. He played back the images, but I couldn't see it at first. He told me, "Look closely at the corner on the right side, at the top." I listened and I finally noticed it. In the window blinds, there was a strange effect, like eyes with a mouth, in stripes. It looked almost funny, but it was real. At that time, I didn't have a USB or anything to back up the information, but Ivan did. Unfortunately, I lost contact with him when he changed jobs. That day, I remembered the incident even later. To this day, I don't know whether it was wind or something that caused it. But those windows were sealed with white silicone, so air couldn't get in. It's difficult to explain, but I kept it among my personal records. In July 2006, I was doing rounds near the back area, where there are large doors. I had gone for a cigarette. When I finished, I pressed my ear against the door for a few minutes to see what I could hear. I already knew things sometimes happened there, but I still wanted to experience it directly. After a few minutes, I heard something like someone moving a chair. I clearly heard the squeaking on the floor. Then I heard what sounded like someone hanging up a phone. The sound was something I recognized because whenever I was taking water inside, I'd hear the same sound when they hung up the phone. I pulled my ear away and looked inside for a while, but I didn't see anything move. Then I felt fear and left that place. I returned to the guard booth. When night came, I was shaken. Still, I tried to clear my mind by lying to myself that there had to be an explanation. But I knew very well those were paranormal events. I only went out to smoke and to use the bathroom, but I was afraid to go back to check things late at night. What I'm about to tell you is a dream that became real. This happened in 2006. That year, I dreamed this. I was inside the media unit that I visited often. What brought me there were two spirits. They told me they wanted light so they could rest in peace. In the dream, I agreed, but first I had to defeat a kind of demon that prevented them from going to the other side. In the dream, I remember pulling out a glowing rosary of white light with blue. After that, I entered a door, which, in reality, was the cleaning storage room. Inside, everything was completely dark. When I shined the light, on the left wall I saw traces of blood. When I went to the center, I saw letters that said, "You will die, Manuel." When I turned to go back and try to escape, a kind of wolf attacked me. It started biting my arm and eating it, bit by bit, until it had bitten about halfway. I pushed it away as best I could and I woke up. My arm had already regenerated. Then I pulled out something like a sword made of light. Remember that part? With that light sword, I killed the demon. And at last, everything ended. When I stepped out, a bright white light appeared. The spirit of the little girl there was happy and thanked me. She looked about 8 or 9 years old. She wore a white dress and held a headless doll. The man looked older, like the appearance of a worker, brown pants, a red shirt, and dark skin. When they left, they told me they would give me a message, but they didn't clarify what it was. They told me to leave quickly, because they might come back again. When they left, the door closed. I heard moaning and crying. I went down the stairs and looked out the window and saw many souls coming. Everything kept turning darker. I left through the door again. This time, the dream ended. I told Ivan everything that happened in my dream. One night, I was sent to turn off all the machines. When I arrived at machine number 8, I saw the computer turn on by itself. That seemed strange. I went down and asked what time it had stopped being used. Since they keep records, they told me it had not been shut down until around 4 p.m., but this was already around 9 p.m. I asked if there was any way the computer could turn on by itself, and they told me no. I told Ivan about the message the people in my dream mentioned. We both came to the conclusion that it was the message. After 6 years, by 2012, I returned to security at the same place. I became friends with a young guy, and I told him about my dream and everything that happened. I explained in detail about the little girl that had appeared to me in dreams. A few weeks later, I found a nun who said she could see ghosts. I asked her a lot about what she could see, and she told me it was a little girl. I looked at my friend and asked how the girl dressed. My friend told me she had a white dress and that she was playful. But I wasn't able to see her myself, so I couldn't tell. The nun said the girl disappeared without leaving a trace. So I asked her about the girl's age. She said she was about 8 or 9 years old. My friend was shocked and started believing me. Then I told that nun everything that happened in my dream. I mentioned the light sword, the key detail I said earlier. She was surprised and told me, a light sword is not something anyone can carry. Only someone who can carry the sword of Saint Michael the Archangel can do it. She spoke about religion and said I was a special being. She gave me a small medallion of Saint John Abad, or something like that. I'm not sure of the exact name. The point is, she told me it was a very powerful saint and that it would protect me from anything. I doubted it, but she added that the medallion was blessed. And that if I didn't believe it, she would bless it herself. I accepted the medallion and thanked her. And that day, it was as if the dream became real. However, there's a big unanswered question. Why did the girl stay in our dimension if, according to the dream, she entered with the man to go to the other side? I will never know. I don't know whether she is still active or whether she has completely disappeared. This happened to me in 2015, and it's fairly short, so this is where I end my stories. One day, I was waiting my turn at night when my supervisor arrived. I gave him my report for the afternoon. When my father came too, we were outside. A coworker of my supervisor saw a ball of fire. I wasn't wearing my glasses, so I couldn't see clearly what was happening, but my supervisor saw it and confirmed he could see it too. So 2 people observed it. While I was worried about my father and wanted to go back to tell him, my supervisor's coworker shouted at my father, "Sir, don't go out. No matter what, don't go out there. Lock yourself in the guard booth." He ended it like that while my father agreed. Luckily, nothing happened. Even though I didn't see the witch or the Nawal myself, I know they were being honest, because they were in full control of their senses, and everything was real. Also, we were on a barren hill near the mountains, so it isn't strange for things like that to happen there. These are the accounts I gathered and that happened to me throughout my life. I hope you enjoy them.